This thing is not working.
Ads, but it was like, I'm not in ads because I'll do the ads and then I'll get distracted by and everybody.
So it's showing you your distractions.
Yeah, it was super helpful.
No, that's interesting.
Because if they come back to you saying that you told me to do this and now I messed it up, I don't want to do it. You can't really add another system of everything you've done. It has to be somehow.
Are you sure? Like, isn't that what maybe engineering the harness sort of like, how do you reason around that?
Yeah, because I mean that's always been the way how people in the supply chain management agency. If you run that certain thing, it fails somewhere. You go back to the beginning, you tweak the instructions from the area, then you run that again. But I just because there's a million different cases that can do. Is that something you really say? Because that's the right way to do it.
Why do they what?
Like, you want to have those initial instructions there correctly. Sometimes you have to tweak however we want. It's like a definition. I want my AI system to work so.
Yeah.
That's a long mark. But the long running answer is not to tweak that endlessly.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's
So
not.
that system, whether it's plugins, whether it's some sort of function, whatever it is, it's something that's self-learning.
You know, I look into these like self-learning systems, and I think I feel like if they were, I have doubts about their effectiveness. Mostly because if they were truly effective, I feel like we wouldn't be needing any of this conversation at this point. They would have solved the problem, you know? And I think they end up, those pathways end up into like a vibe coding wall just as equally, because you know the self-learning thing itself needs to be, it turns into a Frankenstein. So I don't know.
Maybe it's because the self-learning still is more like, instead of me fixing the instructions, the system itself like updates own instructions, but it's still the same core problem. You want to console everything from the beginning by giving it enough instructions to follow. But the self-reinforcement in ML learning, you end up going like steering the whole thing in the wrong direction. So you keep doing something.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the problem. So whether it's self-healing, whether it's human control or something, what's missing out there is the kind of sideways control, watching the system from the sidelines. And now you did something wrong, and then I don't know, somehow correct. I don't have answer to that. I don't think you can go always to the beginning and then go back to the no, you have to do this again this time different.
No, that's I don't think that's an option. Not yet. I don't think. Well, the thing is that you wouldn't want that to be the like solution space. Because
It's a solution. It's just a hack up.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what it is. I feel the same. It's a hack. Yeah. This is. I think this stuff is so new, and nobody has any idea. We're all gonna try stuff, and there's gonna be a lot of failure. I'm super like. One way I think of it is all the folders that are in your root determine the architecture of whatever the thing, whatever it is. So what are those folder names and how many subfolders should they have? Should there be rules on how many root folders? And I'm curious, like people like you who have like everything in the one system, like you and I, compared to my girlfriend who's a farmer. She literally doesn't know anything about computers, and she uses Codex. She knows nothing about computers. She's like, and it's like she's got 6 root level directories. Should it not exceed that? What happens if she has 100? What if you walk to someone's computer and there's 100 root level directories? What the, is that incorrect? Is that correct? We don't have patterns of like, here are these common file system shapes. You know how like we have like, all right, if you're going to build agentic systems, you have the fan out with an aggregator, you have these parallelized, you have all these different patterns that you can look at. We don't have that for file systems. we don't know of all the different possibilities. We don't know what the best fit is for, you're building a SaaS or you're doing a personalization system. We don't. I think that's like one of the things we need to have answers. I have no idea how to get those answers.
Yeah, so my file system is constantly evolving. It's very critical to have that system structure in the way the files and things are organized. Because otherwise it becomes messy for the agent to maintain. It doesn't know where the files are. So there has to be a system. But I haven't figured out what's the right system. If the right system is changing all the time based on what I'm doing, that's the hardest part. You have to dynamically update the system.
And as the model upgrades, it gets harder too because like all of that goes out the window. It's like, well, who knows? Like, man, I don't know. Mythos looked at me. He's like, man, that's all wrong. Like, it's better if it's this way, But we won't know that until we talk with Mythos and learn how it operates. It's such a hard problem. I think but it's also why you can charge like this. People are charging like the most insane amount of money. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start the meeting. I think it's a good time to start. 10:10. So welcome all. Thank you guys for coming. It's an interesting week from my perspective. There are some topics I want to talk about that I find incredibly interesting. Let's see. So let's just jump straight into it. Let's see what kind of happened this week. I'm gonna start with our first news item. Oh, by the way, so I think what we're sort of leaning towards, by the way, so like the way that this group has, we've been around for like 2+ years. I don't know how long it's been, and it's sort of like at first it was we're going to talk about the news in general because there's just so much news. But I think now that there's like these different communities that have come up, and talking about the news is like not that interesting. A couple of sessions ago, when we were talking about like some generic news, it was like not that interesting. So I think and I'd like to get your feedback. It doesn't have to be now, it can be later. I think this group starts to specialize and focus on harness stuff. So like we're gonna be sort of becoming this lower level, I call it low level, similar to like low level coding, like the specifics of low level coding. In this case, it'll be about the harnesses. So things that come out from OpenAI and Anthropic and open source harnesses as well, but like talking about news related to them. For example, the first item right here is Claude Agents. Like that's a harness specific news. So I think Saturday might become more about this. Very technical. It might become increasingly more technical, but I think this makes sense. If you look at Anthropic is going to be releasing, these like Claude architect solution certificate thing, and OpenAI is going to be doing the same. So that the community that sort of fits into that mold, I think this group will become that. That's how I'm sort of seeing things.
Mostly what we talk about anyways.
Yeah, that's the reason. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's what we do anyways, and we've been following the harness. Since this group has opened up, we've literally been following the harness. We didn't have that term at the time, but going all the way back to 2 years ago, we were like, Gemini CLI, none of these things even existed. I mean, the day they came out, we would talk about them and we would mess around with them and so on. So we've been tracking that nonstop, and I was like, that's what we really are.
When you say harnesses, do you mean just like the command line applications for?
Cloud Code CLI, Cloud Code Desktop, Codex app.
So does that preclude talking about the models themselves or AI coding assistants in general?
I think it would include
Tools.
the harness. The power is in the model and harness combination, right?
Sure.
So you have to talk about them in combination, I think.
With these certifications, a lot of it's about lock-in and marketing, right? What would happen if either of the companies came to you and said, hey, we'll give you special access, but it's an exclusive?
We already had that.
We have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we have two people. He can be the Anthropic guy.
We've tried, like, Codex has the, if you haven't signed up for it, I encourage you guys, like, so Codex has this like, we'll help the community and so on. I've signed up, a few of us here have signed up to become that ambassador for Codex. They haven't given it out, but we know we have Ian for Claude. He's literally the Claude ambassador for Thailand. I don't know, does that fit in? That kind of answers it, right? We're almost there. We have half the fucking thing. We need the other half.
question was, I'll rephrase, will you stay neutral? Will this meetup stay neutral?
Oh, I think it needs to be. I think it needs to be. Yeah.
You just put like a mask on, be like, this is maybe stop the live stream.
Well, we do and Ian and I talk about this, like when if we're gonna turn a Saturday into like a Claude event, it's a Claude event. We're not gonna talk about anything else, for example. So
Cross that bridge when we get there?
yeah, that's a better answer. So Claude Agents, this came out. It was this week, right? Yeah. Let's see. Claude Agents. This is might be hard to see.
Why do all their videos suck? I mean, that's AI stuff. It's just hard to always follow what they're doing in any short.
They actually got a lot of remarks about how great that video was.
So Claude Agents, what is this thing? If you're a terminal user, you very likely have more than one terminal window open with Claude or Codex, whatever inside it. And I say it all the time, there's people on social media with like 10 monitors and fucking 10 Claudes on each monitor. You can sort of get rid of that now with this, sort of. I've been using it, and it's, at first I was apprehensive, and my current take is, holy shit, this is really, really, really good. Like, really fucking good. I've been using it, I'm sort of now reconvinced that this is probably the way to go. Like, it's really fucking good.
It's not only the terminal, it's cross-platform, so it's the phone and the desktop and the terminal. And basically what you do is you turn, in the config, you can do /config and turn every session into a remote session automatically. You can also do it in the desktop app. So across all three platforms, you can access this. And it's like, the easiest way they explain it is like Tmux for Claude Code. You don't have the panes, but you tab into each and you can.
T-Bucks.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have two terminals open here, and they, via the remote thing, they understand. They know about each other.
Yeah, yeah, and you can do it a couple ways. You can, in the middle of a session, you can just type /BG, and it pushes it into the session. Or if you run Claude BG and then your prompt, just in a normal terminal window, it'll automatically push it into the session. And then you can look at all your sessions in one spot. Everything bubbles up to the top when it needs attention. So it's constantly organizing. It's all, like in the terminal, it's all short keys. You just tab in, you can look at the session, you can tab out. If it hits a place where you have to respond or answer a question, you can do it all from within the same window. So you can run essentially you can run like 40 sessions simultaneously and jump between them easily without having a bunch of windows open. And they're all automatically remote, so you can move over to the desktop, or if you're out, you can hop on your phone and keep working on those sessions.
Like a little dashboard for all
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that sounds.
It's just a so all you do is like when you launch your session, and then instead of launching Claude by itself, you launch Claude Agent, and it gives you this window where you can jump between
That
sessions.
thing. That's it right there. So I have it open right here, and you can do there's like all these like hidden things that you can do. So for example, if I do an exclamation mark and say hello world, respond like that.
Which of those tasks are, okay, some of those are yours, right?
They're all mine.
Okay.
And so you see I can submit
Yeah.
these. I can open it. I can go back, open the other one. I can go and open another conversation.
It's like tabbing between browsers or
Almost.
browser tabs. Or whatever.
Almost, yeah. But
Very similar to this on the web with remote control too.
Yeah, yeah.
from the web you can control call it?
Yeah, it's web, desktop, mobile, and
But I mean,
terminal.
for weeks and weeks, if you use like the web interface, not the one in their app, it would show all the sessions, and it would also show which ones were idle and which ones were waiting for input.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
In the sidebar.
and it's self-organizing.
Okay. Who's played with this and the old agent teams?
The old one.
Agent teams? Oh, okay.
Why do you call them the old agent teams?
The new agent, because they're not new. They're like 4 years old in LLM years.
Probably better to call it experimental. It's still considered experimental and hasn't been merged into the official GA, I think. So it's,
So my problem, one of the problems I find with this, I like it,
yeah.
but because I do have like 10 or 15 projects, each with their own folders, I almost want to be able to have a terminal where I go to the folder, start up agent, Claude agents.
So in desktop, like in the desktop and the web and the mobile, it's really easy. You can organize by project. They
Right.
haven't done that in the terminal.
No,
yet.
so I can share if you do the @ symbol, the @ symbol from Claude Agents will show all the repos. So the way it's like, man, their documentation is so bad on this. So if you open Claude Agents from, let's just say some directory, and in that directory you have 20 repos inside it, 20 different folders. When you do the @ symbol, all of those repos become available. And so, for example, this is like, so Ghost is one of the repos available, right? So if I do this, and then I do a skill, it will also pull the data from that project. Because you know, like maybe repo A has its own subagents, its own skills, and its own whatever. Repo B has its own stuff. From this high-level view, you can navigate and control that.
And you would have to be in like monorepo style.
Yes, yeah, it's built for
Right.
monorepo, yeah.
You're supposed to do it from your root directory. Like you're not meant to like. Well, you can just talk to any directory.
Yeah, but you know, you'd have 10 projects here, and you would start, because I don't usually start monorepo, I would go in.
Yeah.
So, one back.
Yeah, you go one back, and then you can spawn instances inside one of those, or not. It's totally up to you.
Yeah, you can go to a folder and run tasks, but
Yeah.
it'll show up in the agent view regardless, even within a folder or outside of a folder.
That, for me, it's like, kind of looks like agent teams. You play with agent teams, right?
Yeah, so
Have you played with this?
I'm using it right now. Because I do what you do, I go into those different folders, and it's awkward in that scenario where it's cleaner from a monorepo point of view. But with the agent teams that I've been doing recently is testing Rooflow, letting that help me build the agent teams.
Rooflow was the agent team builder you talked about last week, right?
Yeah.
That's
So,
nice.
so I haven't done enough exploration because I'm on a different project at the moment. But the whole thing I think we need is this, and you can use ALS for this as well, is there's step points where you spin up a swarm if you want for that step point before, and with a state mechanism, which what ALS does, so that when it's all complete, you move on. You might move on from research with a swarm onto write tickets with a swarm onto development with a swarm. That's where I feel this could all go.
Oh, it's interesting. Cluster to cluster to cluster.
Yeah, because
Navigate.
I mean, like, if I sit in there and I want to do requirements, you go, oh, I want to build requirements, but no, you want to do research, you look at this, you look at that. So isn't everything we do a cluster anyway?
It's not wrong to say, yeah. You could look at it this way. And this is going to tie into I hope becomes a big topic today about FDE. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, there's no right or wrong. We don't know. We don't know yet. Okay, so Claude Agents came out. Along with it was also this 50% bump in the limits. This was announced on May 14th. So you're getting an increase of 50% up until July 13th. This is I mean, I don't know how many, I know on the internet everyone has basically moved to Codex, but if you're still on Claude, I love Claude, I still use it, I use both. You get this 50% increase. And then I know that there's some drama wrapped around this because tied with this is the whole, what is it called? The API change that they're also making. So that's another news item that's interesting for the harnesses. So in, what is it, June 13th?
June 15th. So on June 8th, you're going to get an email to claim a $200 or a credit equal to your plan. And then on June 15th, it goes into effect. So any Claude P session, any
Agent SDK. Claude.
Agent SDK session.
It's not every month.
No, it'll be every month. You claim it once, but it'll recur every month. But you have to claim it once. I don't know why. It's kind of weird. But then you'll get a credit equal to that for any Claude-P session, any Agent SDK session, OpenClaw, whatever. It's the stupidest anti-developer thing I've ever seen in my entire life. As a Claude ambassador, it's embarrassing. But it's like,
So the surfaces that this
I
applies
wish
to.
they're gaslighting people. That's what pisses me off about it. Is like if they just said, look, these open clause and all this thing is, and people are finding loopholes and they're screwing everything up. We need to like charge you more. Like I'd be fine with that. But the fact that they're like, we're doing you a favor by giving you $200 extra credit. I put $200 a day.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, what's that?
I do one agent SDK run,
Isn't that
$160.
like they're trying to constrain people because right now everyone's like multi-agent workflow is really wasteful. You know, nobody's using prompt caching properly. People are letting the cache expire when they have like an outside agent managing the inside agents. And like nobody's putting any thought into this because tokens are cheap. I mean, just devil's advocate, I think it
Sure.
sucks too.
No,
I think it's their problem though. I think it's their problem, man.
But if
They
they do
give
this,
us
right?
this agent SDK. They should bake in the
Okay, but
controls into that.
I think that this will actually force people to find workflows that are 10x more efficient. So if you actually put some thought into optimizing it, I think you'll actually have more tokens than you have now.
Probably true. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
don't
think
it's wrong. I don't think like I'm not mad at them. The kind of gaslighting thing is what pisses me off. It's a reality. The thing is like people install OpenClaw. It's running, you know, heartbeats every 5 minutes. None of it's optimized at all. It's just burning tokens, and it's affecting the core users. And unfortunately, the fallback is the people who use it properly with the SDK or programmatic usage. They're also like not really clear. Like they have like /schedule, and they got scheduling in the thing, and that's technically not that's not interactive usage. So does that fall under that? Like,
I think
there's a lot of
they're not limiting that. So you get 15
yeah.
scheduled per week.
You know, that's the agent thing. Schedule like loop in a Claude session.
No, those are different, aren't they? You have loop and you have schedule, which I
Yeah.
think are two different things.
Yeah, schedule's just a cron job.
Schedule is tied to the, so if you go on the desktop app, on the top left side, let me see
So
if I-
these limited, right?
Yeah, it's
this thing,
15 per week.
Yeah.
routine.
these routines are,
Gonna change the name?
Yeah.
it's scheduled for cowork,
Oh, that makes sense.
and for code it's called routines. And then from inside the CLI, I think it's /schedule. And then the difference, and then that's different from /loop. Two different things.
I think the scary part people are going to get hit with is this also includes like GitHub Actions. So like if you have a bunch of repos with all these GitHub Actions, you're going to wake up,
And just be out.
you're going to be out of tokens.
Or-
or if you got your
if you got extra usage
extra
on.
usage turned on, you're actually going to be like wake up to $200 bill.
Is it Anthropic just pushing people away from their
Yeah, absolutely. I don't
think
think.
everybody's getting.
I don't think
I'll
so.
play- I'll
I don't
play-
think so.
I'll play devil's advocate here, which is I was like, I don't want to fucking pay for API use. I was telling him, so what do? I just use the Claude Code SDK like I would the API, and I do that on purpose so I don't have to pay for it. I do that. It was like one of the first things I did was like, how can I like mimic API usage. I'm like, I know the API is back here. Like, how do I do it in my plan so I don't have to pay for usage, so I can build shit and not have to pay?
But you're hacking around it. I mean, you're overall.
But this is what
public
OpenClaw
marketing,
did.
yeah.
Like I
Right.
use Agents SDK like I would the API, and I just mimic the same thing. And I do that during development. Like if I was gonna give this to other people, I would switch the API and pay for it. But during development, like I just
You want to make mistakes. You want to.
yeah, I want to
Yeah.
frick around, like
Yeah.
mess around, and I don't want to pay, right?
I think it's a good point. All developers want their developer environment to not be something that's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Your developer environment needs to be this sandbox that you can play in. And this ties into the whole FDE thing. So if you're going to do, I don't know, if you're going to be like a freelance FDE and you're going to go into someone's business and you sort of like listen to what their problems are and you're like, well, the best solution for you is managed agents and Cloud API. You don't want to pay the money to develop that. You needed a developer environment to build that. So this actually is a benefit in that regard. You're getting $200 if you're on a $200 plan.
It was free.
No. Well, you couldn't do Cloud API calls with the subscription.
Oh, you can do Cloud API calls
Yeah,
now.
you can do.
Now you can.
It falls under all the categories.
Well,
and that's the way they're
well.
framing it. They're like,
So-
yeah, they're framing it as like we're giving you the $200. So as a
But they're
developer-
taking away my
Yeah,
agents as
exactly.
so you're fucked.
Yeah.
I'm fucked, but developers who are doing FDE are in a better position. Same with managed agents. Like this credit is going to apply to places where it didn't before.
Yeah, but
But that's what you should be
It gets
doing.
rid of my weasel mode and your
Yeah.
weasel mode.
I cannot abuse
Does
anymore.
that,
So
does
it's,
that mean when your normal coding usage runs out, you can just switch on extra usage, go for another week?
if you're willing to pay.
Yeah.
But you're not, you get 200 for free.
You get 200
Not
for
gonna
free
lie.
as soon as you burn through that 200.
I wouldn't say for free. You're getting 200 for $200.
Technically, you should just keep buying plans. Every $200 you need, buy a new freaking plan.
Yeah, arguably.
Sell
It's
the
one-to-one.
CLI usage
I think it's one-to-one
on the
though.
dark web and get your $200 worth of API credits.
I don't think you're getting a discount on the credits being earned from this.
Like,
plan.
I'm gonna be able to abuse this even worse potentially.
No, but you know what? Ian said that they're asking you to opt into this shit. So you would need to buy those plans now and perpetually pay them. I don't think like in 2 months you can be like, shit, this month I need 6 plans and then
No,
cancel them at the end.
I think to some extent you can. I know the big thing is like it's actually cheaper to buy extra usage credits because an extra usage you can get a 30% discount without it. Like in the $200 that you're paying that you're getting for free is still costing you $200.
But I could sell
Yeah,
that plan
in
on
theory,
the
but they do that.
for $100
Training
and I
people
get
are doing
50. Like, if my evil brain is on,
Yeah.
like, I can abuse this system a lot better.
That email's going to say you're going to agree to these terms of service. That's what
Wait,
that's
someone
about.
tried it. Oh.
I tried that, but they blocked it by having one account, one phone number only.
Yeah, it's my problem. That's why I'm
One
not
day
using
they
Quad
will.
Yeah,
anymore.
they blocked that.
I can't get new accounts.
It's easy to get phone numbers, we already showed.
But I got 5 phone numbers, so I tried. That
But there's 2 ways to look at this. One is you switch over to Codex and you're like, my problem goes away, but that's temporary. Like any other solution is a temporary thing. The reality is that we're all going to be moved and shoved into this world. And I would say that that's like normal development. That's like part of your development life. So the other way to look at it is accept it because this is going to become the norm and it should have been this way from the beginning. I bet if you had
it
one.
was. Agents SDK when it came out was
Oh, that's
API
true.
billing.
That is
and
true.
They
secretly, they secretly changed it. Yeah.
right? So
Good
they
point.
realized their I told you guys it's free and we all started using it. Now
Yeah.
they're rug pulling us again.
So
Yeah.
maybe it's time for China models.
Yes.
That's a big jump, dude. Like
Well,
Anthropic scooters
Codex,
jump straight to China. I don't know.
Well, the first thing is like different Anthropic. I've been happily running everything with Opus. Every dumbass thing my system that uses Opus because there has been no need to optimize. clearly it is now. So the
Yeah.
first thing, when can I use Haiku? When can I use Sonnet? How much I can optimize with that? And when that eventually runs out, can I take Chinese model and offer something, open model, something like that. But that's like changing right now. That the fact that getting away with it, just not optimizing, not doing anything about it, just happily running, getting the biggest plan, hoping that everything works, that's not gonna work anymore.
Yeah. The problem for me is like sometimes you want to be able to programmatically do things in Claude where Agents SDK is the best tool,
Yes.
and now you,
Right.
now you can't really use it.
200.
Nick, what are you planning on doing?
I don't know yet.
Are you in some like existential crisis or not? Not
No,
at
no,
all,
no.
or-
No, I don't think so. I
Like-
think the time investment I did on this one project is totally ruined, but I'm not
I
destroyed.
think it's the same, like, some of my projects, I'm just making adapters for so you can swap to codecs or.
Yeah, is that what you're doing for
Yeah,
Codex?
Codex is gonna rug us now.
Yeah,
Codex
I'm
is gonna do the
making
same thing,
adapters
yeah.
for
Is it
Gemini
already,
codecs.
is it done, or how complicated is that process?
It's actually not that difficult. Like in Kyberbot, for example, like the harness part is literally like 10% of the code.
Uh-huh.
So to create an adapter and swap out the adapter, all you're doing is saying instead of calling Claude-P or calling codecs,
Yeah,
so it's actually not that difficult.
yeah.
You know, I don't know, like I kind of have the idea for us, we're gonna have like, where your orchestrator can run on that $200 credit in Opus, but then like all the rest happens with codecs or a different, or open source, like Open Router model or something. I don't know, there's like, yeah, I think what we're getting to is we're gonna have to all start, and me and Nick talked about this the other day, is like, we all have to start becoming harness engineers.
Yeah.
Like, we have to start like thinking about
Why
more
us?
efficient
Why
ways to
not
use.
Anthropic or OpenAI? This is AGI, so it should optimize itself.
It doesn't
Which
exist.
model is so well?
It's because no one is talking about this, but these models are not what we all think they are. This whole ASI, this is all bullshit. Clearly, so in order to have the models be able to sort of solve it for us, it needs to be in the training data, and in the training data needs to be what to do, and no one has defined it because we just hit the problem right now, and the only people who can solve the problem are people who know how to use the harness, and they were just software engineers in their previous life who did architecture. There's not many of them in the world. That's why like it's somewhere here in the news, but like that's why Anthropic and OpenAI this week they opened up their this forward deployment firm where they send engineers to your business, and they're already valued at like $12 billion from OpenAI. Anthropic's I don't know how much it is. They're paying $500,000 for these people. They're hard as fuck to find. But you need them because they're gonna be the ones who solve the problem, and then they take that data and send it back to training.
But OpenAI and Anthropic has all data from us, how we use the models. So they should fix this on their level.
Oh, they are. That's why they have their own firm. They're gonna fix it, and if we don't like sort of track what they're doing, they're gonna just keep going. Like they're gonna zoom way past us, and we're not gonna have any idea what's going on.
I have a question. Who's using Cloud Code Agents SDK in your workflow, or Codex SDK, which is the same thing?
Both.
Yeah. So are you Rug? Are you screwed with this?
Yeah, I'm playing around with open code, different SDK, and trying to plug in Open Router and trying to optimize which basically we're planning for agents, for coding, for ImageJet, whatever, which task is better, which one is more efficient, trying to move away from Codex or
Codex, you can still do it now.
but I'm tied to
Yeah.
one of these two.
I definitely feel like I was a very early adopter of Markdown, just in general, and like the Web 2.0 lock-in boards were the reason for that. I can't remember off the top of my head, maybe it was Evernote, maybe, like all that era of
Oh
things,
yeah.
of like pulling back, like fuck you, because they rubbed
Obsidian when
in their, before Obsidian, but yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the thesis is very similar, like in the sense, like one of the things, I didn't really get rugged on this, but when Claude Code released memories, right, and putting it in like home/.claude/random text/memory. It's like that shit is basically useless for me now. So which is fine, but it feels like everything has to be built now to be agnostic, where you can, because for just as an example, like I feel like I saw Alex Finn just made a video like Grok CLI just came out like an hour ago or something, you know, and it's like who knows, maybe all this their data center gets put into the way they try to pull customers is they give SDK access for a while, and it's like if you can just keep switching, and then eventually the local models or the Chinese models or whatever are good enough. That worked very well for me. It's like going to Markdown early, and then it was like whatever came out, as long as it can easily import and export Markdown, it's like I don't really care. It's
So
just the front end.
But there's a danger here of like, if you're gonna jump around, so like if you're in our position, it's like you're gonna bring in OpenSDK, OpenCode SDK, and you're gonna use these models where the prompts they worked well in Anthropic, they do not work well on the other. Like it's not gonna work out. Like you have to retweak the whole fucking thing, redo the evaluations.
Yeah, that's the benefit of using one of these, because their engineers have already figured out all the issues that I'm gonna probably fix. The reinventing the wheel basically all by myself, versus it's probably one of their best engineers. The whole team has fixed it.
What's an example of the kind of prompt I'm not disagreeing with, like that you feel like it works fine here and will have to be totally tweaked for over here?
Claude is, you can write lazy prompts and it's fine. Codex is like, will make horrible assumptions and just run with them. Where, like, Claude's, Codex is more autistic and it'll just like latch onto things. Where like,
if you ask Codex for help in making a prompt, will it write the prompt in an autistic way?
Awful.
That
Yes.
works for
It's awful, man.
yes.
So
Yeah, it's the reason like a lot of people use plan mode with Claude
Yeah,
and
sure.
then jump over to Codex.
Yeah,
and
that's
actually
the
do it.
here's an example. I'm not sure if it's a good example, but has anyone else other than me using the grill me skill? Nobody?
Like asking questions.
Zero?
No, from Michael Peacock.
Matt Pocock.
Pocock, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I haven't used it. I know it's really popular,
It's
but
fucking dope. Like, but if you think about it, it's like 2 paragraphs that is basically just like relentlessly ask me questions until you know enough. And I feel like if you have something like that and you make a plan that, okay, every so often, every 3 months or 6 months, I'm gonna have to take, 1 to 3 days part-time and port with something like the Grill Me. I feel like that's a small price.
The thing is though, like the Agents SDK is like, you're running these prompts programmatically.
Yeah.
So if you just swap, you're like, oh, I was running it in Claude, now it's swapping to Codex.
Yeah.
What that prompt does can be, like, depends how you write your prompt. You should be able to write a prompt where it be pretty deterministic
Can you
between
give a
both
simple
models.
example? Or,
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah,
but
no, I
like-
know. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, but like, there has to be like a.
Can't you create a Babel thing where it's like you have the prompting guide for Codex, the prompting guide for whatever?
Yeah,
Your
but
crap that goes in.
you're
and
gonna
then
have to do a
outputs.
little engineering.
Yeah,
You're gonna have
exactly. Because
no,
that's
it's
all
gonna
you need.
it's gonna
You
be
just
way
need-
more work than that. It's gonna be
Well,
way
there's a lot
way
to
more
it.
work.
There's a lot more to it. There's like the whole harness aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
Like for months now, feels like years. For months now, like Claude is just better at tool calling, right? That's may have changed in 5.5.
Okay.
I don't, but like, but earlier on, like
Yeah.
Codex would just shit the bed when
Yeah.
with the tool calling. So the stuff that's baked into the harness, how it does things,
Fair.
and what you get out of it. And this is especially useful for things like if you're doing these agents,
Yeah.
these kind of like open, Claude type things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is you can be like, this is why a lot of people would, even though there's a lot of haters of Claude, for example, for one reason or another, and they would still use it in their OpenClaw as like their orchestrator because it responds better, it tool calls better, it does things a little better. I don't know. I think the gap is closing in though. I think if you can jump between like Codex and Claude cloud and stuff, and eventually these open weight models will catch up. You hope. Like, I think the gap is getting smaller between all of it. But yeah, how you do it, and you know, I guess in theory you could, like, if you're running evals on your prompt, which you should be, and then you go into Codex and you just have to run evals against that prompt until you get
Right.
a similar output. It's more work.
And couldn't you imagine though that somebody will come up with maybe this is stupid, but it's like a skill, like a Babelfish type skill that works and goes viral, and then everybody just slots that in, and it's like 80%.
You mentioned more. It sounds
Seems-
like typical open source, like a translator, and you let me rewrite my skills or my prompts for this engine, or I switch again and it converts it back,
Yeah.
or it's both.
I guess just to say one more thing, the reason I'm thinking about it is because I feel like most people here would agree that we're going to move into a somewhat adversarial relationship as customers of
Yeah.
these companies and them. They have a lot of incentive, like the ride sharing, the food delivery did, to like get us locked in. And now it's like the fire is getting bigger, meaning their need to do that is getting bigger as the competition grows and the trillions get more and the funding gets bigger. And so I feel like having that, like, you're not my friend, Anthropic, you're not my friend, OpenAI, like, you're using me and I'll use you too,
Yeah.
to some extent.
That might be the perspective shift we have to adopt.
Yeah, maybe, exactly, maybe, at least worth, like, having in the back of your head, I think.
What's the skill? You said if somebody comes with a skill, what should the skill do?
Well, it would just, I mean, I feel like you said it. You want to say?
Like I mentioned, it's probably like an open source repo or tool that translates the skills or the prompts, like just checks it and rewrites.
And what's the issue? Why the skill doesn't exist yet? Why is it hard?
The use hasn't, until this just happened, there wasn't a sufficient need in the market for people to be like, hey, maybe I have to switch away from Claude, as an example. Now there is.
It's also the wrong abstraction of thinking as a skill, because it's got to be done higher up from the harness. The harness has to go, because you switch from Codex to Claude, and you want to dynamically change that prompt each time. So that's a harness thing, not a skill level.
Why each time? Why not just once?
So you want to switch back?
But you want to switch
Maybe,
back.
and the problem I see is also that you want to let Claude write codex prompts or vice versa. Like, if it would be compatible, if they would be able to do it, then we wouldn't have this problem, right?
And so every time we change models, we go to do it. Every time we change providers, we go do it.
Yeah.
So it's not, can't do it from a skill. You might have a skill, but it's going to be done at a higher abstraction of whatever you're using to run.
Wait, I feel, why couldn't you just do, like, you switch to Codex, somebody makes a great Babelfish skill, and you say, take all my prompts and make them, that were all designed for Claude, and make them work for Codex? Like,
Why wouldn't codex understand Claude prompts in the first place, and if it would be able to convert?
that's a good, yeah, fair.
I mean, that both of them kind of like guidelines from them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the
could
one
you,
that
yeah,
said,
could use
no, but the guidelines.
negative behaviors and anti-patterns and stuff like that, like
But
Claude.
it's not changes from model, like even from the same provider. It's probably, yeah, from model to model.
Well, I would actually say that bolsters what I'm saying, which is that, like, we're gonna have to get good at this, because it's not only that you could get nerfed going from Claude to Codex, but you could also get nerfed going from 4.7 to Mythos, theoretically.
So I'd still argue that we don't have to get better than that, because one of the things that we're seeing in the harnesses is evals being built in. So wouldn't the harness be doing like you go, oh, here's my prompt, and an eval comes in and it's just automatically improving that prompt each turn for you.
lot of the things I use are qualitative rather than quantitative, meaning it's just like they're not evaluable. I think like this look better than that, but
this
nevertheless.
This is why I said, like, when we talk about the ALS thing, and said, like, is everything a cluster? I think if I want to solve one problem, if I use my human brain, I just say, can you solve the problem? If I use my cluster brain, it says, well, let's solve the problem, but we'll have 4 or 5 advisors looking at it from different angles.
Experts.
But more, it's, yes, but more a mixture of the agents, not a mixture of experts at the model level, but just prompts.
But this is the same idea.
Same idea, yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Go
just want to say
ahead.
before we get off that slide, I checked out the goal feature,
Yeah.
and I was really disappointed because they didn't do what Codex did, which is an actual Ralph loop where it looks at how much tokens are being used and then tells it, hey, like clean up for the next guy. They just did a boring hook and like compact. So why are they so lazy?
Oh, for Anthropic's goal.
Yeah. Shit.
So
We
don't
could've
use it.
done ourselves.
What do you mean it's not a, like I'm running one right now, it's just iterating through towards the goal.
So all it does is when it gets the session end hook, it asks another model to look at the last few messages and see if it met the goal. It's not telling it, it's not splitting it up into tasks and saying like, let's work on one thing. When you're near finishing that thing, like wrap up and go to the next station. Or when you're near context limit, like, hey, we need to update the documentation so the next guy knows where to come on. It's just going and going and going and then compact.
So it's very good token machine again.
Yeah, it's the worst possible implementation. They
It's their
just
incentive to burn tokens, right?
yeah. But
Yeah.
Codex has actually done this properly, like, and they called it the same thing. They literally could have just stole the idea and implemented it properly.
Doesn't this go back to everybody knowing like both sides of like ecosystems, what works, what's better, more
Exactly.
efficient?
That's why I mentioned it.
What command is actually goal and
Because now I think goal on Codex is the same as goal on
Right.
Claude, and everyone's going to have that assumption.
Right.
I feel like we've all had to get used to this, right? Running Linux and Mac and Windows and this one is good at this and bad at that, and it seems like inevitable that this will, be a
but Linux
thing.
people don't want to touch Mac or Windows.
Well, I mean, that's different. You may have to.
All right, I'm gonna move to the next news item. Looks like we got so Codex Mobile, and for Codex for Windows, which is really buggy.
I did not notice it.
Oh yeah.
Turn my head and look at that.
I can look at this one. Yeah.
It's cleaner.
Oh, sorry. Let's see what we got here.
I've used the mobile version, and you have to enable it.
Let's hear about it after we show this. So it's in the GPT app.
What is it?
So if you open up your GPT app on your phone, on the left side there's Codex now, right? And so you could use Codex from here. It'll ask you to do some setup when you first try to do it. It's like go to your desktop and sign in.
All automatically remote too, aren't they?
Codex?
All
Kinda.
Is that what's happening? I didn't play with it.
It's like, it's modular, so like, you could split it easy.
What was the question?
Like, is it,
remote control.
yeah, I think it's like all remote, that's what I heard.
Yeah, so I have it running on my phone now. When I updated Codex Desktop, it had an install process and an authentication layer that I had to do. And then now when I tap on Codex and GPT, I see all my projects.
And it has full computer use.
Yeah, and it has full
From your
computer
phone.
use from my phone. And
But-
I keep
like-
working on my projects.
I don't think you
But
see
you want
the,
everything in the cloud or only the stuff?
It's connected to my machine at home. That's on all the time.
So like, as far as I understand, like, Codex runs like like when you're running Codex CLI, it's talking to like an app server. So it like doesn't care where that's installed. It's just piping text to it, right? So running locally, it's just piping it to the app.
I would
But
assume
if that
it's
runs
just
on a
sending
server,
commands to my machine and it's off and running.
yeah. So like, just the way Codex is built,
Yeah.
like that's easy. Like
Yeah,
Bayesian
I
doesn't.
was just wondering, like, you know, like for a long time, like Claude is like up to you whether you want it to be remote or not. But I think
Every-
Codex has built it in, so it's just
Yeah, it's like a first class citizen instead of an afterthought.
You said the app server, like Codex app server.
Yeah.
That's how they're using it. You're saying, like,
I don't
Yeah,
like,
we
look
can
this
do it.
up, but like it seemed like a very like they tried to build that into the architecture where it's like, yeah, the app server just runs and the CLI
Just sending-
talks to it,
right?
and it can talk to it if it's on your machine or on a different machine.
It asked me to be on the same network, so I'm assuming it's within the network, and then also backing it up to the cloud.
Oh, so you have to be on the same network.
Yeah.
There's probably a sandbox thing. Like, isn't the internet a
Well, no,
network?
because you can use it right now.
Yeah.
Maybe to
He's
set
using
up,
it on his
maybe to
computer.
set up and later, no?
Like, I'm just
It's setup, for setup, you're on the same network.
like I haven't.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of it like how it's architected. I haven't used all their fancy features, but like that's kind of how I understand it to run. So moving shit around shouldn't be hard for them.
Did you guys already talk about that? They just announced like a reorg at OpenAI. That Greg Brockman is gonna like run
Oh.
all product, yeah. And
We didn't talk about it, but
oh,
yeah, that's
sure. But it definitely. I feel like I mentioned last week that I saw an interview now, like a couple weeks ago, with Sam Altman, and he was like, "We want Codex to be the thing that when you open your computer, you go to Codex, and that's that."
yeah.
And so it feels like that's the direction.
Well, this is what made them all of their money. Like the first week Codex came out, what did they get? 1 million downloads immediately, and now from that day to today, it's becoming a greater and greater majority of the revenue of OpenAI. They're experiencing the same ADX shit that Anthropic did, which was straight from Claude Code. It's just Claude Code.
Yeah. And I saw on Reddit, the Codex Reddit yesterday, for the first time, threads starting to appear about, oh, they're nerfing Codex now, which, you know, happened a while ago with,
Oh, the model.
yeah, because they're you know, it's conspiracy stuff, but that they're compute constrained now because
Yeah,
of
yeah,
this hockey stick.
Yeah, they're gonna do the same shit
Yeah.
that Anthropic's doing, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And Thibault came out and said that they were fixing. There was some issue. I don't know. Sam came out and was like, "Oh, there was no issue. It's just people got really better with the models, and then they see it as dumb after you work with it for." I don't. And
Or
Thibault said,
basically, they're masters of gaslighting OpenAI and Anthropic.
"Yeah, yeah,
They're like saying, "Oh, we didn't do anything wrong," and then like a month
Yeah.
later, Anthropic comes out with the whole, "Oh yeah, all
Oh,
this happened."
Sorry, we didn't know.
yeah." Yes, it is. Windows Sandbox. This is just useful. So if you are going to be doing, what's going on here? Why can't I click on that? Well, there's an article on, I guess, I actually haven't read this. This is probably how the sandbox works in Windows. If you're going to do FDE, you're probably going to have to learn this. So I won't stay on here. I'll just get out and we'll move on. But what else did we have this week? The goal from Anthropic, I know we just spoke about that. Codex in-app now tests across viewport sizes. What is this? I think this is, I got this from a dev from Codex. Yeah, that's the guys from the Codex team. These are like all small changes. You probably don't even need to know about this, and it's going to make things work better. What else is fast mode for Claude Opus 4.7 is now available from the API. I think that's what that means, and I think 4.6 is going to be discontinued. What else? Oh, this is interesting. This is really, really interesting. I would highly recommend you give this a read. So Anthropic released this blog post on using Claude Code in a large code base. I hope the Codex team releases something similar. But what you'll see in this is they have these FDEs, these forward deploy engineers, who are going to these organizations that have code bases that are in the billions of lines of code, and they're successfully using Claude Code to navigate, change, and deploy and all this stuff. So all of those findings and what that world is like is in this blog post. It's actually incredibly informative. So I highly recommend.
Blog posts, not agents, to do the same.
Huh?
Why they publish blog posts, not the agents?
Why did they publish it? I don't know. You'd ask them. But it is a good read, and it is interesting to see using agents in large code bases. Because there's still all this talk I hear about slop machines and so on, but it kind of doesn't make sense. So if you're following, like there's a lot of people who are saying, oh, Claude just produces slops, AI produces slop, don't use it. Doesn't add up when you think about Anthropic being built on Claude codes and having an 80x growth and still somehow servicing the whole fucking world. You can't do that with slop. So there's a disconnect between what people are thinking and what actually happens. This blog will shed some light on the reality of things and not the opinions and feelings of others.
Like overall, Claude and both Anthropic, they publish pretty useful Claude code. Like literally the only one that I follow is that one. Especially on the Anthropic side, they have a lot of research articles there which they publish often. So they are literally worth following. They're very useful.
Yeah. Speaking of research, go ahead.
Just on their website. They have key
Engineering blog, they have like
engineering research,
Yeah.
something else. That's very useful. It's a nice, this long, easy to read.
Yeah. They're usually written like they have. It seems like they have teams who are that their task is to produce that piece of work or to do some piece of work and then share it so they write a blog. Because I know the team that wrote the large code base thing. The reason I found the blog is because that team posted on X and like, hey, we did this stuff. We went into these orgs. I wrote about it. Here's the link. That's how I came across that. This is also just more research stuff. I think I'm going to skip it because it's just more research.
That was interesting.
This one?
So telling the model what not to do doesn't help, or what does it mean?
No, it helps. It's just not perfect.
I don't know. This has to do with training, though, right? This is on the training side. That's
Yeah.
what this is for. I get it, but I also it's just like more like an FYI, right? So yeah. What is it? I don't even really remember. This is trying to reduce. What is this again?
Blackmail. Reduce blackmail.
But I think it gets deeper than that. It's like also how do you control behavior on the model?
Sure.
Like what are you supposed to do about that? And I think that the research team found some sort of like, oh, we think we have one tool in our toolbox that we could use. And I think you could say that this is that. This is the tool that you would use for how do you control the model? Because that's still one of the big open questions. How do you control these models? How do you peer inside them and see what they're thinking? Last week there was that post about if you compute the weights, you can sort of get the internal thoughts. So this sort of falls into that bucket. It's not super interesting for us here, but it is just good to know that they made some progress on this.
Did they release a paper on this one? How
They only released this blog, and I don't know if it's tied to a research paper. I don't know. I didn't go that far in. Not sure. Claude's Constitution now is an audio book. So the Constitution, I think if you remember last year, they released this Constitution, which is the whole, I guess, ethos for Claude. And they are sort of constantly changing it. And my understanding is that this Constitution gets baked into the training. This is like incredibly important for Anthropic. They consider it incredibly important. This piece of news item is just saying that Amanda Haskell, who's the philosopher in Anthropic, did an audiobook on the Constitution. So if you want to hear the Constitution from Claude in her voice. That came out. That's the
in
news.
her voice or AI generated in her voice?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't know.
What would you think?
I think for her, I think it's probably her.
Okay.
The way that woman thinks, I think it's probably her. She's so picky about and very sensitive to how humans view models and how models view humans. She's really sensitive to that. If you like watch her interviews and read her X posts and stuff. Okay, here's the thing I want to bring up. This shit. So this OpenAI deployment company, which is the mirror to so Anthropic and OpenAI have made this other company of theirs, which is about this forward deployment engineer, with something that Palantir started about a year ago, I think. And this thing is already valued at some huge amount of money. It says 4 billion here. I think yesterday it was 12. I don't know. But this is like what all of you in this room who have been following this shit for the last 2 years. This is like what your future job is. We joked about this 2 years ago. Some of you who were here 2 years ago, we used to joke about, oh, the future of us software devs is we're going to be plumbers. Okay, well now there's an actual role title for it. It's called FDE, Forward Deployment Engineer. You're a plumber. You're going to go unfuck some slopped up machine or system, and the way you're supposed to unfuck it is you need to use the constructs of the harness. So you're not going in there to like. Someone comes to you and says, I have a mess and I'm trying to build this idea. You're not building their idea. You're just fixing their mess so that they can build the idea for themselves, right?
And what are the categories of this mess? What kind of problems they have?
What problems are these people solving?
Yes.
Like I think it's anything and everything. My speculation is that both of the AI companies strongly believe that coding is solved. It's not a problem. And I imagine their interpretation of that is, if I give this model to my girlfriend, she's a farmer, she doesn't know shit about tech. If I give it to her, it will build websites, it will do what she asks very, very well. It will eventually hit some vibe code wall, and she won't know how to fix it. You need someone to go in there and remove the vibe code wall so that she can go further. If you sort of like get intimate with what is this vibe code wall, it's a problem of organization and structure. It means your code base is so disorganized that you hit this vibe code wall and the AI sucks. So you sort of need to refactor it. That's what these people are doing. They're going into these businesses that their systems are all slopped up, and they need to correct it.
And I guess we are, each of us, hitting some kind of wall like that because we are in organizations, or maybe we run one-person organization. And if we think about their services, is there something we can do for each other to unblock each other? Like, or is this problem not occurring for us?
It's occurring definitely for us here. It's occurring for all of you, but most of you probably know how to get around it. Maybe, I'm not sure.
I also think it's more interesting if you work in like larger teams or even enterprises, right? Because if you work for yourself, it's easy. You don't have to talk to anyone. You know your structure. You know how things are organized. But work in a team of 10, then let's assume each one of these 10 people have their harness, their agent they're working with. But then once I've done my task, your agent should know about that too, right? So there's the first complexity. Then there's security. Like, is everyone allowed to use all MCP servers? Should the MCP
And what we're finding is that you cannot make a framework for everyone. It's so specialized. It's so specific. And I actually like kind of look to you because when you did that presentation on the plugin for your team, that is technically you sort of stepped into an FDE role. Because that's how you would, that is actually the fix. It's not to like literally go on the person's computer and fix it. It's to do what you did. Make some plugin, some system that you can distribute and you can constantly update. So I'm like, I don't know, have you gotten like what's it called?
$1 billion evaluation.
No. If he's gotten like your role promoted because you basically are gonna be that role in the company.
Not yet. At the moment there are a lot of fuck ups and I can't work on this anymore because of higher priority things, but the idea is that my team should become like technology leader or like shape opinions for the company and roll those opinions out, like by giving these tools.
And is the plan to use, how do you guys, maybe if you can share, how do you intend to roll this out to everyone? Because like you said, you can't do one-to-one, it's not enough time.
So right now the problem is that we need to be more adaptable to more teams that have different scopes, right? Just, for example, I had a Claude in the repo that should have been universal, but now teams realized it's still too specific. So next time I have time for this, probably in a couple of weeks, I want to introduce a kind of getting started workflow where it generates a user MD, a Soul MD, and it has a scaffold Claude MD, and depending on the first interview stages, it merges different kinds of other information into your Claude MD depending on who you are. So
what problem does it solve?
It solves the problem, what I said. Now, this thing I'm building should be used in like 5 or 6 different teams, and they should have a good Claude MD in your .claude folder to start with. But I can't.
Sync between them.
So let's say you are in team B, right? I'm in team A, and we have different scopes. So we need different Claude MDs. I as the person who provides this framework can't really say, oh, you should use this Claude MD because it doesn't work for everyone. But the repo that I'm building should give you a getting started thing where you can customize your Claude MD by using different building blocks, right? And then I can update this repo from time to time with better practices, when things change in Claude Code, how it works, blah, blah, blah. And then you just have to apply one command like update framework, and then it will pull in the latest data. So you don't have to care about how your Claude MD works, how the skills work. You are just using it basically. And you also make sure that every team member is on the same state, right? It doesn't help if you work with an older version, the other guy works with a newer version, another guy doesn't work with it at all. You will produce different results. You will work with under different assumptions, and I think that's bad.
And you're doing this with the plugin, right? Is it like
with the plugin system. So in that repo, we use the standardized Claude marketplace feature.
I think they need to reword this plugin thing because it's such a big deal. It's the only way you can remotely control these harnesses. There's literally no other way. It's got to be through either that or you go into the Git repo directly, but then you have a problem where it's like that only applies to that Git repo and not to all the repos maybe. And then you can't share, I don't know, if something was useful there that you want shared. So the plugin is like the only entry point you have to modify these systems. And it's also going to become the only way you can even get people who are using AI to use your shit. Like Jordan brings this up the last 2 weeks where the AI companies are moving more and more of their stuff to like a web access point.
I think it's completely in line with the getting rugged in Agents SDK as
well.
Yeah.
It's the same direction.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have you run this stuff on your computer. They're gonna have it.
You need to be in their garden, in their network, and the only way you can change anything in there is with whatever controls they give you. And today there's only one, the plugin. It's the only, there's no other way. I mean, you could do custom shit with like making your own hooks and stuff, but that just applies only to you, so it's not that useful.
But like, okay, like, you guys be quiet. Like Claude has like the agent web runner, and you have to pay for like the eval, the thing that does the eval on the goal. You have to pay API credits for that part of it. Have you guys seen that? Like the agent web thing?
Managed agents?
Huh?
The managed agents?
Yeah, managed agents.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah, you gotta pay credits.
The little eval and Claude loop, you pay for credits. I think that's the only way that works.
Yeah, it's not free. Yeah.
It's not free, right? So it's like you might have been able to do that yourself with Agents SDK, but
Oh, I see. Yeah,
now,
yeah.
now you really can.
Now you're forced into
So it's like, you know, you could have done that yourself, but now it's not free to do it yourself, so you might as well use what they have. I don't know. I see it moving that direction. But I don't think it's bad. I think, like, Codex, like Claude Web, it just does load a Docker, and Codex loads a Docker. You shouldn't really care too much. But if you start using their like managed agents evals, that's vendor lock-in. But a Docker in the cloud, to me, is not vendor lock-in. I don't know.
But aren't they limiting us with what you said? Like right now we're working with hooks, we're working with different customizations. As soon as they force us to push us more towards to their cloud and web services, like how do I do that?
The hooks?
Like, they don't have hooks now?
Where it just runs Claude code in a Docker in the remote. That's kind of how it works. And the way you bootstrap those, if you don't want to put it in the config, is you do it in a start hook.
Right.
So like
start hook to pull everything in.
Pull everything in and set up your remote environment.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I don't see it like diverging so much.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you can build your own. You should build your own systems to work like they would in the cloud. I'm kind of moving more towards that, just so I can like.
I can't remember if it was Claude or Codex, but one of them released like dev container files.
They Codex has their Docker,
Yeah.
and I think Anthropic has their dev container.
So you can replicate what's going on in the cloud. And
Yeah, you can replicate it locally.
Yeah.
So like, might as well. Ish. It just installs a bunch of like, here's Go runtime, here's PHP runtime, here's npm runtime. Like, it's pretty basic.
Yeah.
And then you bootstrap it. Codex has the idea of like, they want you to run like npm start, and that, I think it automatically runs it, and that should bootstrap your system. And then I used the Claude one early, and they were like, use the hook, one of the start hooks, right?
Yeah, back then.
Bootstrap. So I was bootstrapping with the start hook. I don't know. I don't really consider that vendor lock-in personally.
The point is this whole FDE thing. But I think we give it a few more weeks and we see how much of a bigger deal this will become. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Security stuff. You know, I don't even know if I should talk about security stuff anymore when I come here, because every single week, almost every single day, there is some security shit. What was it yesterday? It's not in here, but the Mac kernel. Mythos found something in the Mac kernel.
And that was their flagship shit for M5 and A19 was like, can't exploit it.
Yeah. And they got it in 6 days. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Send all of OpenAI's products, ChatGPT and Codex. They wouldn't even allow you to open it now. You have to like reinstall the new one because they almost shipped it with some malware in it.
Oh, they were using one of their dependencies got hacked. Codex. Yeah.
CLI?
All basically, like if you try to open ChatGPT now, it won't even allow you. You have to redownload
like their app,
Yeah, the app.
probably like a supply chain attack.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
So they revoked the code signing certificate, did they?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I didn't see, but the point is that I don't think I'm going to talk about security because it's so often. I don't know. Like
Please,
maybe we
please
do talk about it.
Yes, talk about it.
Steve,
It's more
Steve,
interesting than a
do
new
you
web
still
browser
think
tool,
Mythos,
right?
when you hear something like that, do you still think it's hype? That's the first thing that I thought of when I read that. I was like, I wonder if Steve still is like, no, this is marketing hype. Because it's like, dude, Apple is no joke. I mean, at least that's my opinion.
I will take it back a little bit, but I think any new frontier model is going to be able to like look at some of this code if they have access to it and find holes in it potentially. Especially if it's a highly trained one, it gets all the exploits or understanding exploits, like more specifically trained to it. But it's good marketing, right?
But I would wonder actually, because the M5 is pretty new. I wonder if Mythos would even be able to, because they did, from what I mean, this is so far above my pay grade, but it's like, from what I know, they did a lot of hardening specifically on M5, and I would imagine that's not in the training data for Mythos.
Did they explain how they accessed it, or
I mean,
was it
this
just
stuff and blah blah
was it
blah.
just
it's
an
about-
M5 machine and they had set it free and like find all the holes, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah. The researchers delivered the report by hand yesterday to the Apple headquarters. They took a picture and they're like, "We're here with this report."
No, it's awesome. I mean, I like that.
But also in this week we also had, I didn't even bother putting it. There were other 0 days, other things found.
Supply chain
Shit.
attacks is a big issue for
It's
everyone.
nonstop.
Tanstack got
Tanstack was that was another one.
I was installing Rclone or about to, and I thought to think like, hey, can you check if there's any like exploits? It's like, oh, you're right. I was about to install this one, but it's been patched now, and and I'm like, well, let's not install it right now anyway.
So what is the, like, if you start thinking about what solutions do you do, where my speculation goes, and I'm gonna like sort of tie all these different dots together, is if the AI companies are already moving towards these web access points and moving towards this walled garden, you literally just say like, outside of my walled garden, it's not safe. Do all your shit in here. Because like today, if you grab the Codex app and you build a website, it's going to run it on localhost. You are technically a little bit safer than if you put that website up and exposed on the internet. And I just don't see it's not crazy to me if either company says you can't access the outside world when you're inside ours. Like, because then they can control everything. They can rebuild all of these packages themselves. Right, you see like the bun going into Rust. So bun,
Oh yeah.
bun, which is like it's got a mix of stuff. Zig is one of the things it's written in, and the Jeremy or whatever his name is, I can't remember, ported it to Rust. But
He ported it?
he didn't port it. He used something from Anthropic.
This whole like I'm never going to cooperate with other people thing, like it's just not invented here, Sidra. We know it doesn't work because you can't scale that up.
Well, explain that. What do you mean?
Like, if you're going to create your own modes, everyone's going to create their own mode. That's just a whole lot more work. Like, we need workarounds where people can actually still cooperate because obviously that's going to scale higher than building your own mode.
You're saying their own moat?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
You mean like the AI companies or all of us?
All of us. You know, like we have to find ways to.
But we don't have the
make
money.
open source work.
Like if you're gonna rebuild, you look at
We
look at
don't
any.
have the manpower to re-implement everything. We might
don't.
have this very like inflated opinion of ourselves, but we're not that big.
No, but that's not what he said.
But the
That's
AI
not what he
companies
said.
do. They have the money
Yeah.
and the man.
Well,
They are doing it
don't.
already.
They're shipping bugs in fucking ChatGPT, like shipping security.
But that would be a reason for them to do what Nick is saying. And I could even
Yeah.
just to take it to the final boss. It's like I could imagine this happening for national security reasons eventually.
Oh, that's a good point.
America is like, no, there's so many supply chain attacks. You have to run things in protected spaces.
Okay, but we're not even trying. Like OpenAI could have had a 24-hour hold on dependencies, and that would have fixed the problem. And that would have fixed the problem for most of us, if we just didn't download anything that was less than 24 hours old.
Right.
But is that a solution you want to go with for the long term? Wouldn't you
No,
rather
but
just
it's
say like,
better than trying to re-implement everything.
Wait, why not?
no,
You
no,
can still
but
use
is
other
it
people's
really
input.
like the bun rewrite to Rust is sort of like you can rewrite everything.
Yeah.
It took how long did they run it for? It was a 3-day run, he said, or something. It was like
It was a really short run, and it was past like 98.9% of tests on
Rewriting
the
something
first run.
to Rust doesn't solve supply chain attacks. It solves memory safety.
you would rewrite all of your dependencies that are vendor based to be yours.
Yeah,
and then
we
you
don't
own
have
them.
the manpower for that. Like, yes, we can do that, but scaling it out to other people that are writing stuff and creating pull
Oh yeah,
requests,
no, I
that's
agree.
always going to scale higher.
I'm agreeing. That's why I'm
One
saying that
company
these companies are
re-implementing.
saying we're not going to buy. Like, you have to use our stuff. We can't afford to rewrite all your
We know how
shit.
that works.
Huh?
We know how that works. They
No,
have limited focus. The stuff that they're porting gets limited effort. You know, like they don't fix all the bugs.
Yeah, you need to
What if
release
you
it
were-
back because we support that. Like,
It's
a
a division of
ecosystem
labor.
for everything.
That's all it is.
But
Labor's free now.
No, it's not.
It's cost
Reviewing
wise.
code is not free.
It's already happening.
This
Like,
says it's not free. There's only
Microsoft still
150 engineers and then
run
a bottleneck.
Windows Update. People run Windows Update and their SSD gets fucked. You know what I mean? Like, can you like that? That's so weird that that's a thing, right? Meaning that that is an example of something where they are in control of it and bad things happen.
Sure, there's plenty
but-
of examples, and there's also plenty of examples of not updating Windows and getting fucked. And so long as it's worse to not update Windows, then we just have to update Windows and find workarounds. You know,
But aren't you disproving your own point, what you just said?
if you say so.
Okay.
Christopher, we talked about this last week, right? I think the software is gonna get more safer because users can find the bugs, but it can also fix them. And so it's messy now because the world is full of human-made security problems. Those are being discovered at scale for the first time ever. It looks nasty, it looks messy, but in the end, the same modelers that can find the problems will be able to fix them. I like this ChatGPT. They found out about that. Found the problem, fixed that in 24 hours. It used to take months for something like this to come out and fix something. So that cycle is getting fast.
But you've got thousands of agents trying to exploit things over and over.
They got
Probably
10,000.
millions of them trying to find holes and hook in to get some sort of supply chain attack. And it's like a dark side and a light side, black hat, white hat.
Then you got 10,000.
Always happening all the time because they don't need to sleep anymore, right? So the moment something gets into like Python requests, which is a popular library, almost everybody gets owned that day as long as you don't have your own sort of security implementation plan. To best mitigate it, you're not always going to be perfect, but sometimes it's like rewriting your own code of that. So it's whatever you feel secure or whatever your threshold is.
Why not? What you could end up happening though is like when you're pulling in updated dependencies, you run your own security checks on
Yeah,
them, on the diffs.
I
Like-
suggested that a while ago. It's just like freeze everything where you're at right now.
Yeah.
Store it in maybe some sort of document or database file, and anytime it needs to be updated, run a whole scan from all the sources that you know that have 0-day exploits.
Not even
maybe
that.
even look at GitHub
No,
issues.
I'm like
even
have the
higher up.
LLM do it.
Yeah.
But
why
this
that's what I
doesn't
meant.
scale with your own token use.
But
Like
you
you
even-
burn
Yeah, it's
so
token
much.
expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
Jordan,
And-
what about like look at uBlock Origin or AdBlock or something? Wouldn't that be easy where you just crowdsource all of that and you
Yeah.
just diff against
So
that?
yeah, it's expensive if we all do it.
Right.
So, but
I've never
people could
contributed to
organize
it.
here and
Yeah.
these could get auto done.
And if you had access to like 4chan and all the hacker monitors quietly monitoring what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Big organizations already do that.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't know how many of you pin versions.
0.
Like, yeah, most people don't do that for their own stuff, right? So that's already the first mistake. So always pin your versions, even to the patch release, in an ideal world. And yeah, then that scan runs. I mean, there are why not fork it first? Let your own checks run, and even go one step further, do some heuristic stuff like rebuild your app based on the new version that, let's say, request came out, and then see, does the behavior change? Are there any outgoing connections? Does it do an S-trace? Does this process behave weird now? Stuff like that.
Like the Codex security audits, like if you had a library that you really depended on, you give it the Git repo, it pulls in all the new commits and security audits them. Like do it in their sandbox. Yeah, do that multiplied by every piece of software.
And you don't always need to be on the latest release, right? You can always wait 2 or 3 days. In most cases, except there's a critical bug, but then you just check the commits and see it's just a bug fix. Yeah.
A lot of times, like I used to run mission critical stuff where it's like, well, we can't do the full update. You just take the patch.
Yeah.
And then go with that, right?
Coming all the way back to the first thing is, do we talk about security every week or not? I'm not sure. Maybe it doesn't go away.
We should just be lazy and not talk about it. Like pretend this doesn't exist.
I agree with you.
But you know, now that you say that out loud, I'm thinking no, maybe we need to talk about it, because to be useful in this coming world is like you kind of have to know all this shit.
Like it's ridiculous that we're not pinning our dependencies and then we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You know, like
it's only
we're
when it
being
happens
so
to you that
lazy.
you start doing it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's only when you get owned that you're like, oh shit, I should.
I also think the world is changing. You see a lot more projects that specifically write in their first few paragraphs in their README like zero dependencies, because I built this in Rust, I built this in Go, we don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
It's a lot more work, but we're also living in different times now where this is like relative a lot more work, no dependency thing.
Yeah, that might be a big. It's certainly a growing movement.
Yeah.
I see so many more and more repos that they have the zero depend, almost like a badge of honor.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It looks like with the AI it's very easy to build purposefully, like this small thing,
Yeah.
do it exactly. You don't need the whole library, right? You
Yeah.
just need this. Makes sense.
Let's see what else is on the news. So does anyone use Notion? They had this big update this week. I didn't even look a second into it, but it did come off as if they're doing something incredibly novel and interesting. It's called I don't know what the hell it's called. Let me open this. Introducing Notion Developer Platform. I imagine this is only useful if you have people in your team that use Notion.
No, Codex Symphony. Does it use linear or Notion?
It doesn't know, it's a spec.
I know it's a spec, but by default.
It's linear.
Linear. So, okay, never mind. Carry on.
I think the way that this Notion thing works is like, I'm not sure. It's like if you wanted to have your Claude code inside your Notion workspace, you couldn't do that before. You were sort of stuck with the Notion, what the fuck was their agent called? It was terrible. It was the worst thing ever. But now you can sort of bring your agent into your Notion workspace. And that's what they released. So it's kind of like if you wished Notion was a file system which you can then instantiate a Claude session. If you wish you had that for your Notion, that's what this is for.
And Notion's kind of, I've never used it, like Markdown, right? Editor?
It's
collaborative.
It's not.
They're like not great
Markdown.
in terms of lock. Like you're much more locked in than just a Markdown editor.
It's Notion proprietary stuff. We don't even know. Because like when you export, you can get like this like HTML, and sometimes it's like.
Well, you just had Markdown API.
No, I mean, obviously, I'm saying it has proprietary things on top to make it more useful.
Yeah.
You know, database kind of stuff.
I'm a super heavy Notion user. Not Markdown at all.
Okay.
They are in JSON.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wait, what?
If you looked up the Notion node taker, whatever it is, it is in JSON. That's how they store it.
Whoa. Well, well, that sucks.
But you can definitely export basic nodes to Markdown, obviously, but yeah, it's not native.
Maybe they should Markdown is
export in Markdown, but you can export in PDF.
You can't export Markdown?
No, I don't think it's.
No, they don't allow it.
I mean, makes sense.
Yeah, they don't allow it, yeah, too open, yeah, they won't, not support it. But I think this has to do with the way that they internally coded their shit. It's actually a problem that they can't escape. The way that they're
in Modular, so it's kind of their thing.
Yeah.
No, it says you can. Yeah, I mean, I just did research, but.
Don't believe everything on the internet.
Fair enough.
I don't know what else, there's.
We ran out of news.
We
For the
ran
first
out of
time
news.
ever. Half an hour, no more news to go.
What was it about Microsoft pulling everybody away from Claude on GitHub or some sort of
What's that about?
news item?
And they had done it a long time ago where if you, they charge you for not using their system.
Yeah,
or-
trying to use like what Copilot or something.
Yeah, if you don't use Copilot,
Stop
they
using
charge
Claude,
you.
you're not allowed to do it in Microsoft anymore or something.
Oh, I didn't know, yeah, don't know.
Even though like the GitHub person just talked at Claude conference or whatever. Okay. Context is gone.
Yeah,
Compaction does not work for me anymore.
Floor is open, we could talk about anything. Not sure.
So has anyone used Mirage by any chance? Since we were talking about.
Has anyone used Mirage?
Yeah, I'll send a link.
Define.
What is Mirage?
It's basically like a virtual file system that it will connect to Notion, Gmail, whatever other services, and expose all that data on your file system locally as files basically. So instead of using MCP servers or whatever to connect all these services, you basically just tell Claude to look at a folder.
Oh, it's like a uses Fuse to
It has Fuse as well, but you can also just automatically use. I just dropped the link in the Shanghai chat.
I haven't used it, but I'm really curious about this sort of tech because it's like closely similar to Amazon a couple of weeks ago released the file system S3 version, which is like low latency, but then I think you can do interesting things. I think this stuff is going to be, I think and I hope it's going to be incredibly useful for like, so coming back to FDE, if you're going to go and fix someone's fucked up computer, if you're going to fix it directly, that's like working in production. And you need a way to make it a test environment. And I think maybe one way is to use this sort of tech where you recreate their environment but as a test environment so you can do stuff on it and make sure you're understanding it correctly before you run the changes on their actual computer.
Where did this fix up their fucked up computer metaphor come from? Like, aren't they just sending engineers to the company that are like, hey, like, let's look at your processes and see what you could use AI for?
Yeah, they are doing that, yeah.
Like,
they
where's
might
this
be.
break fix thing come from?
Whereas the reason those companies are asking for help because they hit a wall.
They created a
But
mess
those
in their own
companies
code.
might surround that one engineer with like teams that do their bidding.
Say again?
Like that engineer is not just going to be thrown into their code base. That engineer is going to be like, let me look at your code base and suggest what you could start a new team to work on. And like,
Yeah, I think the role literally has we don't know what, the roles are probably going to change a lot. Like
that's what I'm saying.
what
It
you're
might,
supposed to
not, it might not be code base, it might be how are you using AI in your network
Yeah.
in your system all the way down to
or your
code.
company.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
they're basically
They want you
consultants that
to-
come in
Yeah.
and tell you how to use it.
It's usually like from my understanding, it's like a staff level engineer. So it is someone who would look at policy, not just code,
Right.
process, and all that. But it all comes together, right? So yeah, it's not just code for sure.
Like he's more likely to be in a meeting than coming up with code agents. Like meeting between teams, figuring out where the boundaries are, how AI can automate stuff. Like,
Could be.
Where did this?
So the other
code-based thing come from?
one of the problems that I understand is that you can walk into an org and then you grab the whole IT team and you're like, do you guys use Agents SDK? And they're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Well, then they don't even know how to use the thing that you're
That
gonna.
would be what I do. I would say like, what are your biggest problems? Oh wow, you're spending so much time on that. That could easily be automated with Claude. Would you like me to teach you how? And should we get a team started on that?
I think that's one approach. I think we're still defining like, yeah, is that like the playbook? Do you go in and do that?
They're business consultants, aren't they?
They are also engineers.
Well, the thing I read was that I know nothing about this, but the consulting business, McKinsey and all these people, they got out-competed by Mitt Romney's Bain Capital, who OpenAI is partnered with, because they initially, McKinsey, the consultants initially just sold implementation, like pitches basically. Here's a deck and you can buy, you hire us to make this deck and then you do whatever you want with it. And then Bain was like, no, we will come up with an implementation and then we will also implement it for you. So now you really just pay us money and we do everything.
We do it for you.
So they're IBM, basically.
I guess so.
Sure. Yeah.
Fair enough. And that this OpenAI thing is potentially like the disruptor of that, where not only do you disrupt, you disrupt consulting altogether, because you come up with a plan to not need consultants anymore and make your company an agentic company, and will implement it for you, and then you're now like you're ready for the new economy, so to speak.
And if you're OpenAI, you want this. You want your engineer to do the implementation for a couple of reasons. If the engineer comes up with a successful implementation, then you take that data and you send it back to your training team and you say, put this shit in the training data. Because like, how do you solve the problem of the model is supposed to service all of these people who have no idea how to fucking use it? Well, there's only like 200 people in the world who know how to actually do this. So send those people to these problematic places, solve the problem, send the data back, and then, huh?
They allow it.
But they are allowing it. They're paying for it. $4
They're-
billion worth of development work.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if the company, let's say you're an engineer, you go to, I don't know, Ford. I mean, they would sign a contract like you're not allowed to take any kind of data to.
Maybe, we don't know the contracts though. Maybe OpenAI is saying we're only going to service you if you let us take our data back.
No, I don't think so.
And you don't need to take data, you just need to take the problem and the solution to it.
That's
Like
true.
they don't care about, I don't know, your engineering blueprints or whatever. They're interested about what problem do you have, how do we solve it.
So I think it's more on the data side, because most of these models have been trained on the generic data that we have on the internet.
Yeah.
The company-based data, which could be, let's say you're going to a pharmaceutical, and they have their own data sets. The way AI is going to work with that data set is going to be completely different from generic data set that we're working on.
Okay.
And I don't think if most generic, any horizontal trained engineer knows how to use AI and these SDKs and agent development kits, right? So it's all based on the data set each company has, each vertical has, and then once OpenAI or Anthropic gets in that, and they have their own training, embedding models, they train on those set of data sets, they have the recipe of cooking or getting better results out of that data set. And once those guys get in, they can cook something better than what we can cook up.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I watched the conference Thursday night. It was very infrastructure as code specific, but for this problem doesn't matter so much. There was a talk of a guy who does like FinOps and InfraOps, and he brought in a few good examples like where training data messes everything up. So there was one Terraform example. If you ask Opus 4.7 now, write me this Terraform block, it will use its training data and it's wrong because it's outdated. And he had like 5, 6 examples where this can go horribly wrong. So then I thought, wouldn't it be better not to train the stuff, but just train the paradigms and everything else you pull in with tool usage in real time, like all the time, or use RAG or use whatever. And it would apply to the same problem that you described, right? So I don't really understand why they use, I understand why they use Stack Overflow as a source for training data, but is it really smart just to ingest it as is and not put it into context? Because that guy also said, problem with training models on Stack Overflow data is people have a problem, they post it. So the problem is already in your training data. And most people will only get half-assed answers and then refine them themselves and never put that information back. And a lot of people are gatekeeping because they pay engineers like ridiculous high hourly amounts, and these engineers will never post the solution back to Stack Overflow. So majority of your training data is problems, half-assed answers, and then nothing.
But that's a good point. And one way I see that is you're getting data from an engineer who you don't know their technical level, but these FDEs, if you're OpenAI who's hiring these FDEs and you're ensuring that they are staff level plus and that they know their shit, you have you can trust the data that they're going to bring back. You can trust that they're going to come back with I tried 10 solutions and this is the one that worked. This is what we're going to train on.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like lessons learned
they
from.
would train on the ones that didn't work as well.
They could, yeah. It's up to the training team to figure out how to utilize that. But it just goes back to how do you solve these problems at scale? You just have a small set of smart people solve them, bring it back, then the model solves it for you.
Yeah, but I think it's also economic problem that OpenAI was selling models to company for the last 2-3 years, promising extra outcome. The outcome didn't happen, so now they are selling people to make this outcome.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. The whole ASI, all this stuff is bullshit. You got to put that all away. The models are not what these companies are claiming to be. It's not that at all. There's a huge disconnect between reality and then also what we all. I'm guilty of this. I believe so much what bullshit came out of both of these guys, both these companies, and of course they wouldn't know. They were speaking theoretically about some future that here we are 3 years later. Coding is not fully solved, it's mostly solved, but there's these cases where you do need a high level engineer. So I don't know how to put it all together. There's propaganda from the AI companies, right? That's for sure. There's propaganda.
Do you think in their the companies are not gonna want their data extracted, but is a trace of what that engineer is doing company data?
The telemetry from the harness that they
There's
install.
so much.
You can even just take the engineer himself, he's the data.
Yeah.
Bring him back and interview him, So there's so many ways.
There's all these model companies that are paying good engineers to write code that is never used and then they just train on it.
Yeah.
This is them OpenAI getting paid.
But again, that's very opinionated, right?
Yeah, but if they trust these engineers that will they're currently paying random engineers they trust to write solutions to get better training data. Yeah, it's opinionated, but you're trusting.
When that guy said it about the specific Terraform problem, I was like, why do you even train on real code examples? Shouldn't we train on patterns? And let's say request as the Python library again. The model should be aware there is this library and of its pattern. But when you use it, you pull in the docs now.
Perfect example is you're having problems with Terraform because it's confusing and you can do a million things different ways. OpenAI should hire you to just write all these fucking Terraform things and train on that, and then you know what I mean?
No, but it will be obsolete after 1 year.
Exactly. Exactly. Why do you train on specific examples? Why